We have made it through another 3 days of drafting. Broncos fans nearly died of depravity, waiting until the end, the very end of round 2, a trade back in round 3. But we know the Broncos draft class right now, they are done. Will and I are going to talk about whether or not they got one of the biggest steals in the entire draft, the other steal that they got in this draft, and just how completely on fire Will was with predictions prior to this draft while it was going on. At Guillermo Yaves, if you want to follow him on Twitter. It's the Broncos Draft Recap podcast episode. So, a little late here in terms of, we said we might do this Saturday night. We were probably going to have a Friday night recap. Well, we ended up streaming the entire second and third round, which nearly killed both Will and I. So we didn't do a recap for the Broncos there, but it's here today. We appreciate everyone showing up. Today's episode sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up over at DraftKings to take advantage of all of their can't-miss offers. And, of course, my coffee company, Benchwarmer Brew. Got the shirt on right now. We still got some shirts available. I don't think in this color, but in the orange, the Steelers colors, and the red and blue, which is good for any occasion. Anyway, Will.
Yes, sir.
How you feeling about the Broncos draft? And why don't you tell everybody about your super accurate predictions so this podcast has some legitimacy?
Yeah, well, first of all, if I made any wrong predictions, I've already forgotten them.
That's how you do it.
And you should too. But I did call Greg Dulcich.
Yeah.
Moments before they did draft Greg Dulcich. Probably one of like 3 players that I said could be a strong possibility there. But yeah, no, I think I was, like you said, kind of on fire. Predicting other teams' picks too.
Is on fire.
So basically, if you want to make money betting on the draft next year, come to me first.
Go to Will first. Also, shout out to myself. Let's see here. April 20th, a.k.a. 420. People thought I was high, that I was stupid and high. In that podcast, Will, just, not that long ago, here on YouTube, or the podcast downloads, I titled the episode Draft Options for the Broncos at 64. And who did I put in the thumbnail? Nik Bonitto. Nik motherfucking Casa Bonito. So sometimes by accident, we are just really, really good at what we do here.
We are good at listening to a ton of speculation and then narrowing it down to the most likely option.
Yep.
And then, kind of pretending that we came up with it.
Of course.
That's kind of our game, and it's working really well right now.
Well,
should we start with him?
Let's start with Nik Bonitto. I think like about 20 minutes before we did that podcast, I was just looking at guys who could possibly fall there. Never even heard of Nik Bonitto. And I was just like, first of all, I like his name. Second of all, I've seen him we talked about this. Some people had him ranked super high. Some were mid, late second round. And I think more people had him in that department. And I was like, well, that's kind of where the Broncos, they might have to move up to draft this guy in the second round is what I thought. But we went with guys who would be possibly available at 64. And he was. And they took him. And I'm just going to pop up this DNVR graphic here so you can see all of the Broncos draft picks. It went Nik Bonitto, Greg Dulcich, Damarri, Mathis. I learned how to say his name yesterday and I forgot. Eyioma Uwazurike. It's actually pretty easy to say once you get it. Eyioma. No, it's not. Delarrin, Turner Yell.
I think it's
Montrell
Delarrin.
Washington. What's that?
I think it's Delarrin, like the DeLorean.
Well, I thought it was Delarrin too. I said Delarrin, and then
It's not phonetic.
It's not.
I read a pronunciation for it that
Jeez.
it's
Okay.
Delarrin, which the number of vowels, it's kind of like DNVR. The number of vowels to create that kind of sound aren't in the name itself.
Correct.
But you know
Damn.
what? We
Well,
just got to adapt.
My whole bit about Delarrin the McLaren, because you're going to turn and yell when you see it, that died hard right now.
Well, we got the Delarrin kind of thing.
Delarrin, yeah, because I said Delarrin in the Broncos draft recap, and then I edited out my voice so it just sounded like I said Delarrin the first time I said his name. So maybe my gut was right there, which is usually wrong in terms of pronunciation.
Yeah, we got it eventually.
Yeah. They get Montrell Washington, Luke Wattenberg, Matt Henningsen, and Faion Hicks. Boom. We start with Nik Bonitto. Will. And hey, everybody, look, I got Nick Wright on the show today.
Nick Wright. I wonder if he liked the Chiefs draft.
I wonder if he loved the Chiefs. The Chiefs had a really good draft, which sucks.
Yeah.
Every draft is good until the guys play. So, you know.
Yeah. Except for probably the Jags. Yeah. So, I mean, there's kind of this disconnect because Bonito is the first player we took.
Right.
So you plug your first round kind of expectations on him, which isn't fair because you have to, remind yourself that this is a guy who was picked with the last pick of the second round.
Yeah.
You have to go into it knowing that while he was their first selection, this is a borderline second round, third round guy. And I think what the Broncos did here was smart because you're probably not finding very many complete players in terms of the total package, especially at edge at 64th overall. So they got a guy who is an incomplete player, but is really, really good at one thing, and that's rushing the passer.
Yep.
And in a division where the Broncos are probably going to run the ball more than anybody, when you've got Derek Carr and the Raiders, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, we know they don't like to run very much. Adding a guy who is really good at rushing the passer, but underdeveloped in terms of stopping the run, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I know some people were kind of unhappy with it just because he doesn't have every tool in the box, so to say. That's okay because you took a guy who's got some really strong attributes and has some room to improve at 60 overall, and that's what you're looking for at that slot in the draft.
I think knowing that they have Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb, and let's just assume those two plans work, okay? That those guys are going to be your edge starters every down, all season long. They stay healthy. It's the perfect situation. Nik Bonitto gets to come in for situational pass rushing. It's the way the Colts sort of used Justin Houston, not last year, but the year before when they still had him. Probably kind of the way even Melvin Ingram was used for the Chiefs a little bit, but it's okay if he can just come in and attack the quarterback. That's what he's going to do, but it's just can we stop this guy? And from everything I've read, obviously I said I didn't know who the fuck he was a couple weeks ago. He's got a lot of tools in terms of making linemen miss him to get to the quarterback, which obviously you got to have as an edge rusher. But some edge rushers are really good because they have that, but it's they're really strong, right? They're more physically dominant than tackles they're facing. That's not really Nick's MO. And in fact, his biggest knock is that he's pushed around in terms of run defense, but also Red's really a good tackler, in the open field. So you've got a little bit of fluidity, I think, with how the Broncos can use him. And if he's a guy who can come in and say, get you 6 to 9 sacks, and it's just specialist, that's a huge win. Even if it's 5 sacks, but there's a ton of pressures and it forces like some bad throws. And you're hoping the Broncos have some leads where they can just go after quarterbacks relentlessly.
Exactly.
Now, if Chubb or Gregory gets hurt and you need him to play a lot, then maybe, before he can add maybe some size and strength to be the right kind of edge rusher at the NFL level, that's maybe where it looks like it's not the greatest pick. But Chris Sims, I watched the clip like 4 times because he was just like, they were talking about guys who they had like first round grades on that went later. Mm-hmm. And he was like the first guy he talked about. And he was really excited about him. He was like, this is a first round talent, in my opinion. Doesn't mean Chris Sims is right, but seeing somebody like sing his praises that wasn't like a Broncos analyst was cool. And then also Pro Football Focus had him as one of like the best value picks in the draft. So in terms of the Broncos not trading up or doing anything to make any moves, where they picked, probably, possibly, optimistically, the best steal I've ever seen in my life.
I think you're right on. And the fact that we predicted it ahead of time.
Yeah, gotta feel good
Love
about that. You made the connection. It was the Von Miller pick. Elvis Dumerville makes the selection. Casa Bonita is Colorado issues. There's so many ties there. It's right. It feels right.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that connection, I had it first.
Yep.
You had it second.
And
then Mike Kliss, glory boy, Mike Kliss came in and stole it at the last second.
Came and stole our thunder. Okay, next dude, Greg Dulcich, who you predicted to the Broncos. You had your eye on. Tight end. Also, a lot of people not a fan of the Broncos taking a tight end. Look, what we kind of talked about in the Broncos draft recap episode was that outside of maybe like finding just that depth piece on edge who could maybe hopefully become full-time starter there, wasn't like a singular need for the Broncos. We wanted edge, we wanted corner, we wanted possibly tackle or inside linebacker. And I think it was Zach Stevens tweeted out that George Paton said they didn't go tackle or inside linebacker because the board just didn't fall in their favor for those positions, so they didn't draft them. And I think that's probably in the long run what's going to make George Paton look like a good GM in terms of orchestrating their drafts. Like you can reach for guys, I think, in the first round, second round maybe, but after the third and fourth round, people getting super upset about draft picks, you don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Like all of these guys are kind of close to the same. I think there are a lot of people who follow a couple teams and really like a few players and then want those players to go to their pro team that they like. So tight end, it's kind of a need though, because Noah Fant's gone. And after that, like, so to me, I like this pick. I like that you were on his radar, and Brett Coleman was very high on Dulcich, had him as his only tier 1 tight end. I recommend watching Coleman's tight end episode if you want to get a better feel for Dulcich. But I think there's upside with him in terms of production, and probably a good fit for the way Russell Wilson functions as a passer. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, you can do a lot of things with him because kind of the same thing with Albert O. People complain about this pick because Russell Wilson doesn't throw to the middle of the field, which he's also changing offenses, which, that could necessitate a change in tendencies too. Who knows? But if he still doesn't throw to the middle of the field, Dulcich is really good outside the numbers too. You can literally split him out as a wide receiver if you'd like to do that. They did need a tight end too, because the depth chart goes Albert O, who's, hasn't been the healthiest player in his NFL career. And then after that, you got Eric Tomlinson, who they picked up, I think, from the Ravens, and has I think you can count his number of NFL receptions on one hand. But obviously, he's the blocker of the group. Dulcich, in terms of blocking, seems like a wash. which is kind of a plus for a guy with his receiving skills. I know I talked about it during the stream, but he had this incredible touchdown against UCLA. And if you go back and watch that,
He
it
was
kind of gives
against
you
who, Will?
Oh, against LSU. Sorry. He played for UCLA. He scored a touchdown against LSU. Thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome. I love
But if you
correcting
go and watch that play, that kind of gives you an idea of the athlete that he is. He also looks, I think it was Ryan Green who pointed this out, but he does bear a striking resemblance to Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah. No, he does. I like the Fabio Franco reference better.
That's good too.
But he's honestly like he's kind of a shapeshifter in terms of the way he looks. Kind of all over the draft big board in terms of shape-shifting ability. And in the Coleman episode, he talked about his blocking a little bit. And there's definitely like room for improvement. But Brett said he's by far was not the worst blocker of the tight ends in this class. And he actually showed a willingness to do it, which is more than
half the battle.
Yeah, which
really.
is more than he could say for some of the other tight ends he evaluated. So, that's something that I think at his size and if the will is there, he can improve on over time. And again, like hopefully in a Russell Wilson offense, not asking your tight end to do a lot of blocking. You're asking him to get fucking open and score touchdowns.
Yeah, and they're going to use him vertically. Like I am, it kind of sucks that we never got to see Noah Fant play with Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to use Dulcich correctly, and the Broncos never used Noah Fant correctly, in my opinion.
No.
And to have two seam stretchers in Albert O and Dulcich, who probably has better hands than Albert O, it's just he's another weapon from day one. And
boom. Yeah.
You can't have too many.
I think Russell Wilson's going to have more weapons on offense than he's ever had in his life. So, I mean, that was almost true before the draft. Now you get him a tight end, maybe Montrell Washington here, who I want to talk about Montrell Washington, and I want to talk about Matt Henningsen.
Mm-hmm.
But Montrell Washington, see, the other thing, like you forget about the draft too, is special teams contributors. That's a lot of what you're finding after the third round. And possibly, some of those guys develop into bigger role players for you. But the Broncos special teams, again, outside of McManus,
needed
just a
help.
shit show the last 2 years. And that included punt returner Deontay Spencer, who we really liked and rooted for, but just could never progress as a punt returner. Kind of became a liability. It wasn't really fumbling issues, just poor
no
decisions.
juice. Extreme lack of juice.
Yeah, the juice was gone. So they get somebody in Montrell Washington who could be, that secure punt returner with the big play capability. And let's just say, KJ Hamler's coming back from an ACL injury. We expect him to be healthy, but for guys whose biggest strength is speed, you just never know when they're going to be fully ready to go. And maybe this pick, fills that sort of void if Hamler isn't ready to go right away.
Yeah, I think that's a great point in that it's an insurance policy as well. It is also, like you said, a Deontay Spencer replacement. And I think, to me, it's obviously a different coaching staff, which is a good thing. We're two coaching staffs removed, but it's kind of like a redo on the Isaiah McKenzie pick.
Yeah,
to
the
me.
Human joystick, who we were excited about when that happened.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because he's a good player, just with a different team. So it's like a do-over. This has been pointed out on Twitter especially, but when Samford played Florida, Montrell Washington had a kick return touchdown and 2 other touchdowns.
Yeah.
Which is like he was single-handedly keeping his team in that game in which they're severely overmatched. So I love that.
I don't want to be hyperbolic, but basically in this draft pick, the Broncos found, if I had to smash two players together,
Devin
it would
Hester.
be, I was going to say Dante Hall and Tyreek Hill. This is
Okay.
Dante Hall as a returner, Tyreek Hill as a receiver, and that's his floor. That's this guy's floor. Ceiling?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Only God can stop him. God peed right on Montrell Washington.
God did indeed pee. That's kind of his legacy. And he's not like, I don't know, he's not Trenton Holiday. He's 5'10", 170 pounds, which
nice.
You worry a little bit because he had a motto in college, which was "I don't fair catch," which I think is a fair thing to do when you're playing for Samford.
Yeah.
Like why
he addressed
why
that
would
already.
you fair catch? Yeah, but he also came back and said, "Oh no. If I need to, I will wave the hand and fair catch."
Yeah.
That's like, remember when we got Peyton Manning in 2012 and the punt returner for that whole season, I think until like late, was Jim Leonard.
Yeah.
The white safety out of Wisconsin. Yep. They had a very clear, especially, this lines up with John Fox's overall philosophy, but it's like, we're just not going to turn the ball over in the punt return game. And we're going to make sure Peyton Manning never loses an opportunity to score on offense. I think they're being a little more aggressive here after acquiring Russell Wilson. Yeah.
No, I think they're being aggressive, and I'm going to trust the new special teams coordinator to be an improvement because the last one was so horrible. And if fumbling or something became an issue because he was trying to return too many, I'm going to have faith that they correct that gets corrected.
Yeah. And
whereas last year, if it were an issue, it would be an issue all season long. You just be like, we've
right.
got a plan. We're sticking to it.
You have to accept too that young players, they make mistakes.
But I think it's comforting bringing in a guy who's already excelled at both punt and kick returns. Like, know he's good at that. It's not like he did some of this in college. We want to try him here. It's like, this is why we're probably bringing him in, and maybe, he turns into a X type weapon for the offense. So a lot of upside, I think. And again, kick returns in Denver, not really a thing. So it's going to be punt. It's going to be punt. But again, late round pick, he might not even make the team. There's that possibility too.
There's that possibility. He also, like, we haven't really talked about it, but he's a good offensive player too. You could do some things with him. I think he's gonna be that jet sweep guy if Hamler's not healthy, ready to go, which seems to be the case a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it's like, also you'll save Jerry Jeudy so much running behind the line of scrimmage if this guy takes that job.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy was basically like running on a treadmill last year. Yeah. It was pure cardio.
His conditioning level, best in the NFL. Nobody ran more meaningless yards than Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, and he's got like very little wear and tear because he just never got hit.
Yeah, his knee is so strong now. His ankles are great.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into the rest, because there's a guy I'm really excited to talk about. Just like you should be really excited about DraftKings Sportsbook. Look, the draft is over, but NBA playoffs, they're in full swing.
Playoffs.
And DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NBA. This week, new customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets. And that's going on through the NBA playoffs. Nuggets are out. Okay, we know. There are other teams maybe you're not as excited about, but putting a little money on the game might get you excited. Same game parlays. Ever heard of those? You can do it with DraftKings and the NBA playoffs. Combine multiple bets for bigger payouts. Plus, place the same game parlay each day with 3 or more legs and get up to $25 back if a leg doesn't hit. They call that security. Now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code DNVR. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the first round of the playoffs. Second round, I think it's going to be similar offer. Okay, we're right on the cusp of those switching. But you can get $150 in free bets instantly. Code DNVR. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Got to be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Speaking
NBA
of
playoffs, too long.
NBA playoffs, yeah. Were you rooting for Boogie as a member of the Nuggets at all?
Yeah, I suppose. It feels like it's been such a long time since he was in Sacramento. He was he was a very polarizing figure, to say the least.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the basketball talk we got today.
And
come back next week for our 30 seconds of hard floor action.
That's what they call it, the hard floor.
The hard floor.
360 windmill, hard floor, ball bouncing.
You know what I want to see in the NBA? More 360 layups.
I want to see more three-pointers. There's not enough.
Not enough. Well, that's true for the Nuggets.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay, here we go. Somebody I didn't expect to get excited about. 6th round selection. Yes. Matt Henningsen out of Wisconsin. They went Wisconsin with their final 2 picks. Faion Hicks, a cornerback. We'll talk about Damarri Harris as well. The other corner they selected. Damarri Harris, I think they're going to use him on special teams as, because he's good at tackling. Kind of a hard hitter, great tackling corner. Tackling an issue on special teams, that's a fit. But the only reason I got excited about Matt Henningsen is our friend Brett Coleman. And look, Brett's really good. He's just one man analyzing football. The best YouTuber doing it. He worked at the NFL Network. He knows his shit. Doesn't mean he's right all the time, and that's for any draft analyst. But I'm going to let me get his tweet about this guy real quick. Where is it, Brett?
I would also just like to point out that he was a finalist for the William V. Campbell Trophy, which is the academic Heisman. So we're getting a Heisman finalist in the 6th round.
Matt Henningsen, Heisman finalist. All right, hold on. Okay, here's Brett Coleman. Okay, Denver just drafted one of the freakiest athletes in this whole draft, and I love him dearly. That was when they took him. Then we go back to April 5th. Was watching Wisconsin again, and this demon wearing number 92 kept making plays. Thought it might be Henningsen, so I looked it up, and sure enough, it was. Went to look up his testing numbers. 6'3", 289 pounds. BJ, 9'11". Whoa, that's a great blowjob score. He can handle anything up to 9'11". DJ, 37.5. SS, 4.22. 3C, 7.16. I don't know what any of those numbers really
I think the last one was 3-cone.
Oh yeah, 3-cone.
And
what's
vertical
this?
jump.
SS is something shuttle?
Short shuttle speed.
Yeah.
Shutter speed.
DJ, that's his vertical jump. 37.5.
DJ broad jump.
Oh, broad jump. Hell yeah. 9 feet 11 inches. And then he concluded the tweet with, "That's Aaron Donald territory as an athlete."
Okay.
And then he added one more tweet.
Finalist who's like Aaron Donald.
Yeah. Gaze upon the visage of the destroyer of worlds. And then he just posted a photo of him.
The visage.
So, did the Broncos draft Aaron Donald? I think they did, Will.
Yeah. I think you might be right. A lot of people have been borderline racist in their evaluation of this pick. calling him like just a trench guy, like a corn-fed Midwestern lunch pail workman like type player. No, this is a freak. This is an athletic specimen.
Yeah.
Who also so happens to have the mind of Good Will Hunting. He had a 4.0 at Wisconsin and majored in electrical engineering.
Wow.
So, they also got, just to zoom out a little bit, they got an incredible, character type of class. And I know, you can laugh at me for this, but to draft a guy like Greg Dulcich, who just seems like he has one of the best attitudes and mindsets in the draft, and seems like he pairs really well with Nathaniel Hackett. I think that honestly means something, especially later on in the draft.
Yeah.
It's not to be disregarded.
No, I can get on board with that. And I think that's a smart approach to, selecting your players. Also, you should do your research and figure out maybe which players were fans of the Broncos as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Henningsen. I don't even think we've really mentioned what position he plays. It's defensive end.
Yeah.
It's defensive end.
We were alluding to it.
Yeah. But let's just say he turns out to be the other steal. So this is the other possible steal in the draft. Okay. Let's say his athletic upside is that insane, and he can come in and immediately be a rotational player on the defensive line. And hell, let's just call him the next Derek Wolfe on the defensive end.
Ooh,
okay.
The
next Derek Wolfe for the Broncos. If he hits, they take care of their edge situation, because I think obviously Von Miller was amazing, a skill set unlike any other, but he had his most success when he was playing off the hip of Derek Wolfe. So if you've got that type of player, and I don't know if this guy can be it, but maybe, and to have somebody opposite Draymond Jones that can do that, and you got him that late, solid. And the guy that I think they drafted to be that player is Uwazurike. So
Uwazurike.
Uwazurike. Cheeto Bay, Uwazurike. Uwazurike. I will learn it by the time the season starts. So they get two guys who can come in and help on the defensive line, and I think that's an area where you're just not sure about the depth there. Excited about DJ Jones, Draymond Jones, all the Joneses.
McTelvin Agim, perhaps.
Then you got he's the projected starter right now, right? So we'll see. I think that position group got stronger. And maybe this is a sixth round guy who actually turns out to be a long-term contributor to your team. So
yeah, they have the chance to do what the Eagles like to do, which is to rotate a ton of guys and keep them fresh.
Yeah.
And I think that will be important too with the lead, and you're pass rushing a lot. That kind of takes a lot out of you. So you have to have really good depth. And yeah, no, I love this pick. I think the Uwazurike pick was, I like that one too, because he's a huge dude, but he had the athleticism to play off the edge, and he had a ton of production at Minnesota too, which is when you get a really, really capable athlete mixed with actual production, something that the Jaguars weren't interested in with the first overall pick.
Yeah. Totally.
That's kind of the dream in the fourth round.
Yeah, I think one of those guys will contribute this season, and we'll notice it when watching games. What was I going to say? It was to me, I like kind of gauging possibly how the Broncos did in the draft by seeing how fans of the team that a player played for react to the pick. And a lot of it was at Iowa State. Is that where he went?
Uwazurike, yeah, he was from Iowa State.
Uwazurike went to Iowa State. There are a lot of Iowa State fans I noticed were really excited to see him get drafted, and that they're like, your Broncos are going to love this guy. You're going to love this guy. So when I see that on Twitter, it makes me, excited about the player as somebody who doesn't watch a lot of college football. Now, again, the Broncos kind of got a consensus draft grade of a B. I think Kuiper gave him a B. Pro Football Focus gave him a B. Saw a lot of Bs.
Mm-hmm. Fine.
Nice when you get a B. Means a lot of people think they made smart choices. I think we got really high draft grades for Drew Lock and for Paxton Lynch, and doesn't mean they always work out. But for not having a day 1 pick and an early day 2 pick, I feel like the Broncos did the best they could. Would have liked to see tackle addressed. They like the tackles they have, apparently, but they also, the draft didn't fall their way. It kind of felt like the Seahawks were taking some of the guys that I would like the Broncos to have drafted.
Yeah. Abe Lucas, especially.
Abe Lucas, Kobe Bryant. Who else were? I think maybe the Ray. Who got? We thought they were going to trade up for the Auburn corner, McCrary.
Oh, McCrary. Yeah,
that didn't happen.
He went pretty early on in the second.
Yeah, he went quick. So there's some guys we thought might fall. They just didn't. Did the Seahawks get Boye Mafe too? Is that who they also drafted?
That's a good question. I know that. I think he was on their radar.
Yeah,
the Seahawks got everybody except for a quarterback.
Yeah, and
the Seahawks also took. They signed Caleb Ellaby, who I think the Broncos really wanted, the quarterback from Western Michigan.
Oh, that's right. So
the Broncos don't. I think they wanted a backup quarterback, and I don't think they got him.
No, they didn't.
Who did Boye Mafe go to? The Seahawks, right?
Yeah, he went to the Seahawks.
Those damn Seahawks. They're trying to get revenge.
Yeah. Guess what, Seattle? Go ahead. I hope you had the best draft in the NFL. I hope you get the award for it just like the Broncos did. And you missed the playoffs just like the Broncos did because you don't have a fucking quarterback. That said, both Will and I are actually really pulling for Drew Lock. So part of me, I want to see
Drew Lock might be the biggest winner from this draft.
Yeah, I want to see him get a chance. And
until
Seattle
they
actually
trade for Baker Mayfield.
They had the kind of draft I think Russell Wilson was asking them to have for the last 5 years.
Yeah,
That's weird.
It felt extremely spiteful.
Yeah.
Extremely spiteful. And they also took Kenneth Walker, which was just a hilarious pick.
The running back. Yeah, that was the one that felt
Chris Carson and extended and re-signed Rashad Penny, who they also took in the first round back in 2018.
Yeah.
But
most teams
Drew Lock's in a great situation.
Yeah, he's not going to have to throw it a lot.
Which is ideal for Drew Lock.
It is. That's how you limit his interceptions. Throw less.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple.
Foolproof.
I was going to say that I'm working on teams that had really good drafts. It's kind of weird. The Seahawks and I felt like the Lions had really good drafts, and they were only able to do it after they got rid of their really good quarterbacks.
Yeah. That was kind of surprising that the Lions didn't end up with a quarterback.
Yeah, they should have. They should have taken Carson Strong, Matt Corral, Sam Howell, any of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to come out with a video about it, but the quarterback class has a chance to be really good in terms of the value.
Sorry, say that again. A video started playing.
I was just saying we have a video coming out soon about the quarterback class and how it has the chance to be really good when you factor in the value that a lot of these teams, like the Commanders got. I wanted to call him Baker Mayfield, but Sam Howell in the 5th round, and he could start this year. He could just come out and be better than Carson Wentz immediately.
Yeah,
that wouldn't shock me.
He was a first-round he was for a while.
He was the number 1 overall pick for a while.
Yeah, he was the top guy.
And then, yeah, and he wasn't bad last year either. He had a bad first game. I think he threw 3 interceptions in week 1 last season. And everybody's like, well, guess he's not the top pick anymore. Yeah, he also lost Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, and De'Ami Brown last year and didn't really have a lot of help at UNC this season. Weird stuff going on.
No, it's incredibly bizarre. Desmond Ridder to the Falcons. Not a bad grab by them.
No.
Malik Willis went to the Tennessee. That's a nice place to go.
Great fit. If they ever find a wide receiver for him to throw to, if Treylon Burks ends up being good, if he ends up being, I don't know, AJ Brown maybe.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm Tennessee, I bench Tannehill immediately and just start Malik Willis and watch Derrick Henry get to 2,000 yards by week 9.
I think that could be in the cards. That's the great thing about Malik Willis.
What's the play action going to be? I mean, you just boot him out, roll out every handoff, and then boom, that's going to be open for Willis to use his athleticism.
Also, the upgrade in terms of offensive line going from Liberty to the Tennessee Titans.
Not bad.
That'll help. That'll help quite a bit.
Yeah. And their defense will be better.
I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
It will. I'm excited for all the quarterbacks.
Yeah. And your guy, Carson Strong, ended up signing with the Eagles after not getting drafted. We'll talk about the bizarre picks that went ahead of him. Guys literally on nobody's freaking radar.
Steelers took a quarterback I've never heard of in the 7th round.
Yeah. Ula Dunker or Ula Gadang. Ludicon. There you go.
Something like that. I don't know. That might not have been right either.
But yeah, it was a weird draft.
To each their own.
Anything else on the Broncos draft before we get out of here?
I think they hit. I don't think they were trying to do too much. They obviously didn't trade up. I don't think at any point did they trade up. Maybe one. Yeah. And they got 9 players.
Yeah. And, I'm not sure Damarri Mathis is like it's not like this lockdown corner you're expecting to get, but he can come in and play in the slot or however they want to use him right away and gives just some depth to an area that they definitely needed, as well as Delarrin Turner at the safety position. So looking past, this season at safety, if this guy, turns out
he's also apparently Nik Bonitto's best friend at Oklahoma.
Hell yeah. So
you got 2 Wisconsin guys and 2 Oklahoma guys.
Yeah. So usually when you're recapping, well, at least the Broncos, we're talking about like 3 picks from rounds 1 and 2, and this year it's just different. So I think that if you follow the draft, guys drafted after the 3rd round, they're all very close in terms of they got to be able to play special teams. They got to be just super talented and have the opportunity to grow a little bit in the offense. They're usually even good wide receivers like Antonio Brown didn't contribute a lot his first season in Pittsburgh, but eventually developed into, a great player before a crazy player. So, and there's a chance some of these guys don't make the team. So it's hard to do a deep dive on any of them unless you are really close to college football. But again, great draft for the Broncos. Just perfect.
Yeah, I think they got the 2 biggest steals of the draft, like we said, which, to relate this to the title of the video.
Boom.
I had that same jersey as a kid. I had that same Reebok blue number 24 Champ Bailey.
Boom. Matt Henningsen, the savior of the Denver defense. The Aaron Donald we always wanted.
The dog looks so small in his hands. He's probably 6'1" in that picture.
That's a full-size dog.
Yeah.
That is a Great Dane. Fully grown Great Dane.
It's a big boy.
Alrighty. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you haven't watched the Broncos recap on That's Good Sports, check it out. It's like this, but just in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If you sat through all 45 minutes of this, go watch 15 more minutes. What else?
After sitting through the combined like 7
hours of draft coverage
streaming. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's longer.
Is it
15 hours? Anyway.
Oh, I meant in terms of us talking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good 7 hours.
Yeah, we did 7 hours for sure.
7 hours.
It really was a mistake after 4.
Yeah. It was fun.
All right. Goodbye. Guns don't kill people.
Hey, Russell Wilson kills people.
That's how we get out of here.